If you're losing bets and don't know why, you're probably focused on the wrong thing. Sportsbooks want you stuck on picks. Who wins, who looks better on paper. But once I figured out what that actually matters, I stopped doing all of that and started getting consistent profits. You see, I've been in your shoes once, and it wasn't pretty. I remember it like it was just yesterday. Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals. It was Warriors versus Cavaliers. Going into that game, the public was pretty locked into one idea. Golden State was at home. They had the best regular season record ever, and most people figured they'd close it out. And honestly, on paper, it made sense. They were tough to beat in that building, Steph was the MVP, and everything pointed toward a Warriors bounce back. But here's what actually happened. Cleveland kept the game close, and slowly they took control in the fourth. LeBron made big plays on both ends. Kyrie even hit the shot everyone remembers. And Golden State never found their rhythm down the stretch. In the end, Cavs won 93-89. And that's exactly my point. The public had already convinced themselves they knew how the story should go. But narratives don't change probabilities. They just change how people bet. And the books know that. So, when the crowd leans heavily one way because they have a gut feeling, the line usually reflects it. So here's what I want you to remember. If everyone's saying, it just has to go this way, that's usually when you should pause, ignore the storyline, and go back to the numbers. Just take a look at this guy. He won over 10 grand just last month. So if you want to get the same results, I have a private community you can join. And no, we don't share picks like some washed up guru, but instead we share helpful strategies and spot trends so you can stay ahead of the game. You'll find the link in the description below or scan this code right here, but that's not the only way the sportsbooks get you. So I want you to think of it like this. Say you're booking a flight, you see a $100 ticket, click checkout. And just when you're about to pay, the total changes. Now, it's $117 with service fees. That $17 is what we call the VIG, and it's basically the hidden toll for even showing up to play. So, if two teams are perfectly even, the fair odds should be plus 100 each, but the book quietly marks them up to negative 110. Meaning, if the $110 rolls in on both sides, they pay $100 to the winner and pocket $10 no matter what happens. So really, you're playing a losing battle. But if you want to see bet slips like this, you gotta play smarter. And here's how I do it. Imagine you're flipping a coin with your buddy. Everyone knows it's 50-50, either heads or tails, but every time you win, he pays you $2. And when you lose, you only owe him $1. You'd flip that coin like there's no tomorrow, right? Because even if you lose a few tosses, you're sitting on a long-term money glitch. That's what a positive expected value bet is. It's not about predicting outcomes, it's about finding prices that tilt the math slightly in your favor. So in sports betting, the question isn't who's gonna win. It's, is this price wrong? And that's what separates pros from emotional bettors, because pros bet the number, not the team. But if you're watching this video, chances are you're not yet at that level. So how should you bet? Well, if you asked me 1 year ago, I'd probably tell you to study the books one by one and grind until the wee hours of the morning. That's what I did. But if you ask me now, I'll give you completely different advice. Because in sports betting, the people who actually win aren't working harder. They've just automated smarter, using math tools and consistency to make the same decisions every day without emotion. And that's exactly how I made my first $1,000. If you want to steal the exact system I used, you can grab the blueprint in the description or scan right here. So earlier I mentioned that people who beat the books aren't really doing that for manual labor. Instead, they're using tools. And these tools can scan all the books for you, compare the odds side by side, and flag when one sportsbook slips up and offers a good price. And there are a bunch of options out there, and they all basically do the same thing. Personally, I use OddsJam, but you can't just fire up OddsJam and blindly copy every plus EV play and expect a profit. That's how you end up betting a Korean volleyball total you didn't even know existed and then wondering why your balance is down to zero. So the tool helps you spot potential edges, but you obviously still have to use your brain, a good baseline, make sure the market is actually mature. If only a couple major books have a line posted, that usually means the number hasn't settled yet. And whatever edge you see might just be early noise. And then you've got the tiny markets. These are random props, lower tier leagues, stuff that barely gets any action. They might light up as plus EV, but there's so little money in those markets that one sharp bettor can jump in, move the line, and erase that value instantly. So yeah, tools are great. They save time. But the edge is real only when the market is real. Use the tool to find opportunities, not to outsource your entire decision-making process. And once you get the hang of it, making at least $350 a day will be a breeze. All you've got to do is find the edges. They don't have to be huge either. 3% here, 5% there, and after a while the math snowballs. So, let's run the numbers, just so you see how this will pan out. Let's say you start with a $5,000 bankroll. You're disciplined. You stick with 1% bets, 5 plays a day, and only take spots with at least a 3% edge. By the end of year 1, you're up $3,000. Then, in 6 years, you're pulling $10,000 a month. Once you stretch it to 10 years, you're practically a millionaire. But even with those edges, you're still not guaranteed to win 100%. You will have down days. That's just how the game works. But if you quit before the good part comes, you lock in those losses. The truth is, every bettor faces these swings. It's not bad luck. It's called variance. I remember one week I lost over $2,000 in just 4 days. I lost $114, then $310, then $530, and finally $1,300 in a single day. I was miserable. But I knew all my bets were positive EV, meaning they had a long-term edge. So I kept using OddsJam to find value bets every day. A few days later, I had one massive win, $2,400 in a single day. And that one day alone erased the entire losing streak. So whenever you hit a roadblock, here's what I want you to do. First, understand variance. Winning and losing streaks are normal. Even pros go through them. Second, trust the math. Even if your bets are positive EV and you lose, the numbers even out over time. Third, stay consistent. Keep using tools like OddsJam to find edges every day. And fourth, don't panic. Losing streaks only hurt if you stop too early. That's the key. Variance can't beat you if you keep betting smart and stay in the game long enough for the edge to play out. And if you want to see how I deal with variance, I made a video that gives you the play-by-play of how I do sports betting for a week. So, click here to watch my 7-day OddsJam challenge.